This video is pretty much just for people who are stumbling through life and not knowing exactly what they're doing, and just to give some sort of hope that someone who is as mediocre as me can, quote unquote, make it, or at least show some sort of improvement over time. I'll have in the bottom timeline, it'll show my job progression and also salaries associated with each position. So then you can see what the increase is like over time. This video is just to show that if I can do it, you can do it as well, and hopefully you get some sort of value out of it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I went to university for a bachelor's of science within like kinesiology, so in hopes of becoming a physiotherapist or going down that like pre-med route. Quickly realized that that's not what I wanted. Surprise, surprise, parents wanted it, society, whatever. So you know throughout this time I kind of felt like I've always wanted to do something in business, or at least I thought that was the thing to do. I don't know, I guess I was really interested in that like suit and tie type of occupation, you know, being a naive kid and watching TV, whatever. So I never really felt any sort of sense of belonging in school. So I kind of ventured out while I was still in school, on mostly on YouTube, to find out other ways of kind of making money, or you know along those lines. One day I actually met a friend who's also you know pretty much like a lifetime friend now. He mentioned that his brother had an online business, and that online business was Amazon, FBA, business, so fulfillment by Amazon. And the friend turned out to be the marketing person for his brother's business. So I thought it was extremely interesting because I've never really heard about that type of stuff before. And then I started my own online website, online shop. And from there, on weekends, after school, after classes, I would, go on like Shopify and make my website. And then the intent of it is to make a drop shipping website. Don't worry, this is not a drop shipping video. At the time, it was like, these fidget spinners. So I would reach out to manufacturers and connect that on the back end. And if you're not familiar what drop shipping is essentially you set up like a site, and you sell products, but you don't hold the inventory. The inventory is held from the manufacturers. So whenever someone purchases a product, you essentially you mark up the price on your website, and then you send the products at cost or at wholesale, so you make the difference. You're basically just the middleman. So I did that, gained a lot of experience in just like Facebook ads, setting up websites, SEO, things like that, random things. So it was, it failed miserably, spoiler alert. That point onwards, I kind of, had some sort of confidence in myself that I could do something. Throughout school, I didn't really want like to work at like a grocery store or something. So I opened up like a small business, like cutting hair, because I knew how to kind of cut my own hair. So I started doing barbering services for students on campus. It grew. It didn't grow like substantially. It was, it's like money here and there. Just throughout my time at like university, I always found like random little businesses that I could do. So during my last semester of school, this is where I kind of got the most amount of like marketing experiences. I went to start applying for jobs, and this was when I was still in school, and I applied for a digital marketing position at a local agency. And it was I miraculously got the job because I essentially just leveraged what I learned from opening my website or online shop, even though I failed miserably, opening my barber business. And it kind of showed like the interviewer, the employer, that I was that, go-getter type person, and kind of roll up your sleeves and start doing things. So they valued that. And I think this is kind of like a reoccurring theme throughout my life, is that just kind of leveraging what you can, in terms of like the skills that you learned over time, and really like, even though like if something has failed, emphasize on what you learned from it. And I think that's one of the valuable lessons that I've learned over time. I stayed at the agency for like 6 months or something, and I got fired, and that is a completely different video for a different time. So, you know, fast forward another year, I graduate, I have nothing lined up. You know, everyone in my classes has something lined up, like they're either going to medical school, you know, physiotherapy, chiro, you know, some other master's program or something in the like academic realm. So you know, I was like me having no job, nothing lined up. I had no idea what I was doing. I got like very anxious and concerned about my future because, you know, there's the it's somewhat existential like angst of not knowing what I want to do in the future, and also like the short term anxiety of like, how do I pay my bills? Completely like burned through my savings. And what I did was that I started watching YouTube videos, and at the time there was like photography was becoming like a thing. Not a thing, but it's become more, I guess, mainstream. So you know, I leveraged what I could from my, you know, photography skill set. And also I learned video creation or creating, whatever, filmmaking. And I got one of my friends who was also into photography, and I somehow, managed to go door knocking with me in my city, just like knocking on small businesses' doors to see if they needed some sort of like photography work or video work and any sort of like ad hoc marketing work. So, I mean, at the time, it wasn't so much like social media marketing or anything like that. It was more so just like photography and videos. And, you know, we knocked doors for like a couple of days, and we finally got our first lead. It was like a coffee shop, whatever. Not getting too much into it, but like that was like one of our first leads. I posted on social media. From there, I had like a few colleagues or friends through like college, and they had like they were starting their real estate journey, so they needed, you know, someone to come on and like help them with their real estate, you know, content pretty much, and a little bit of their social media marketing. So, you know, one thing led to another, and it was interesting because like during this time I was always kind of trying to find new gigs here and there, and always kind of looking for an opportunity. I was on Facebook Marketplace, and I found this ad for like a phone, and then on the ad, for some reason, I looked at the person who was selling the ad. I found out that this dude or this guy looked really familiar, and so I searched him up on YouTube because I thought it was someone who I saw on YouTube, and it turned out it was a tech YouTuber. So I immediately reached out to the guy through the ad, like not asking for what he was selling, but more so like, hey, you know, because I was looking at the guy's Instagram and it was looking pretty weak. So I just reached out to the guy and I just said like, hey, you know, this is like super far-fetched, out of the blue. Would totally understand it if you said no, but I was hoping, you know, I was looking at XYZ. I think that, you know, I can bring a lot of value. If you're open to it, you know, please let me know and we can make something happen. And, you know, lo and behold, the next day he messaged me back, and that was like a start of something that was like, I was super stoked about it. I was so excited, because he was like a legit YouTuber. He had like, I don't know, like at the time it was like over 200,000 subscribers, and yeah, it was super weird to kind of like work with him. In a way, it's like surreal. It's not like, you know, not like meeting a celebrity or something, but it's just like weird. Yeah, so I started working with him, and it was honestly completely for free. It was basically like an internship. And that was my intent the entire time, like initially starting out this whole journey. I just tried to cultivate as much experience as possible, and I didn't even, like, obviously I needed to get paid to pay the bills, or just enough. But then like after that, it's like, hey, I just like, I want to get as much experience as possible and build out a portfolio that's like somewhat robust. I did that, and I worked with him for like, I don't know, like 8 months or something. And I think if I remember correctly, he let me go because he's like, honestly, I feel so bad because you're doing so much for me and I'm not even paying you. So I think he just felt bad. Or maybe I just did a terrible job. But I don't think I did a terrible job. During this time, I was also, you know, working in real estate. I also got like, from the real estate person, got like different gigs through his friends, you know, kind of just networking all the time. and that led to like weddings and just random things. And I it was super random. One day I was out eating, out with a friend eating dinner, and I noticed that someone was there that I knew. He was an acquaintance through university, and this guy we kept in touch over the years just because through like our I don't know, through our hobbies, I guess. Like he was a photographer, I was a photographer, and we would always kind of just like have one-off conversations on Instagram, like, "Oh, nice photo, man." I'm like, "Hey, man, are you like how are things?" I just started talking and asking about his life, and he was like, "Well, because I knew at the time he was working for like a retail store." And I'm like, "Oh, are you still at the retail store?" And he says, "No, I actually got a job at a startup," and immediately like intrigued me. I'm because that's all like that's where I wanted to kind of be. Um, Tying this back to like the whole thing about me wanting to get into business and whatnot. And I asked him, I'm like, "Oh, what position?" He says he was in HR, and he says, "Well, and then I ask him, I'm like, "Hey, man, like, out of a whim, if you guys are hiring for, marketing, let me know. I'm your guy." And he says, he's like, "We actually are hiring for marketing. You know what? Let me get you in touch with my boss." And I was super stoked, so excited. And next week he got me in touch with the CEO of the company, and I went and had an interview with the CEO, and it was like an hour interview, super entry position. I'll tell you what the position is in a bit, but like super entry. The CEO's like looked at my entire portfolio, and he's like, "This is exactly what we need. We need someone to create content. We need someone who has a little bit of skill in like marketing, some experience." And he's like, "You're hired," like on the spot. So I mean, it was insane because it was like, it was like it wasn't like a big building or anything, but it was like the top story of like a 3-story building, so 3 stories. They had like, I could see like, a bunch of computers, like desks, open concept. There was like ping pong tables and all that. I never experienced this, right? Because never been in tech before. So yeah, so sorry for context. It was a technology company, and yeah, and hired me on the spot. And yeah, next week they sent over an offer letter, of which I accepted on the spot for $45,000 per year. So, I mean, I was so excited. I've never seen like an offer letter before because I always worked like hourly jobs or like just gigs here and there, like super inconsistent income. And now it's like, oh shit, like this is what I'm making per year. This is crazy. Maybe I just had super low standards, but I don't know. I was pretty proud of myself at the time. So it's so yeah, that was where my first journey started. And that I'll call that was job one. And I would say like just like small takeaways from that whole experience getting up to like job one was essentially like to cultivate as much experience as possible and don't focus too much on the money. From the experience that you have, build a robust portfolio and showing like this is what I've done. The job market right now is super competitive. Showing that you have some sort of experience and not that like you're just a freshly, new grad and feeling like you're entitled to get a job unless you're like super smart or whatever. It's really difficult to get a job. So you need to kind of build that experience and have that portfolio and always lean into your skill set, lean into your accomplishments, even though that you've perhaps failed in the past, like I have. And I think fourth point is always put yourself out there and network. You never know, what opportunity will come next. And obviously, be genuine about it. And yeah, I thought it was really interesting. If you found this video to be somewhat valuable, consider liking and subscribing. I'll probably have this type of like financial content in the future mixed in with like lifestyle and whatever else I find interesting. So yeah, until the next video then. See ya.